back and welcome to another tag video. I was tagged by beautifully bookish Bethany. I will link her channel up here, down there, to do the BookTube, wait, I've got the title of it here, Under the Influence of BookTube Tag, which is a really fun one. And I watched her video, and some of the answers to the questions, mine would be quite different to the answers to some of hers. So I knew as soon as I watched the video, before I even realised I was tagged, that I wanted to do the video. So yes, if you fancy doing this tag, consider yourself tagged. Just let me know in the comments if you have done this tag, and I will come and watch and comment back. I will leave the questions in the description box, as well as the link to Bethany's video and the original tag. So question number 1, what is a fantastic book you read off of the recommendation of another booktuber? Well, it seems right that I would read this based on Bethany's recommendation, since she tagged me in a video, and that is Anger is a Gift by Mark Oshiro, which I talked about in my September wrap-up, so I will leave that linked as well. It's a tough book to read, but she raved about it, and so I knew I had to read it. We have also done a couple of buddy reads together as well, which kind of like are influenced by the other person wanting to read the book, and so I think we've influenced each other on reading a couple of books as well, which is quite cool. And then part 2 of this question is, and oppositely, what's a book that that you were talked out of reading because of a booktuber's review? And recently I thought about reading Marcus Zuzak's new book, Bridge of Clay, because there was a lot of hype about it. I was offered a review copy, but I wasn't the biggest fan of The Book Thief. I really struggled with a lot of parts of The Book Thief and a lot of elements of The Book Thief, and so I went and checked out a video a video over on Kale's Corner BookTube channel, which I will leave linked as well. Got a tickly throat today, I apologise. And her review made me decide that I definitely wouldn't read it. And I don't feel bad, because I watched her whole video and considered it, and then decided that yes, no, it wasn't for me. The things that she said that were some of the positive things and some of the negative things about it just was like, yeah, no, that's not me. That's not something I would like to read. Question 2, has BookTube opened your mind or changed your mind about any genres? Since joining BookTube, I've read a lot more physical books, and so some of the women's fiction that I used to read a lot more of, I can't always get hold of here in Denver. I have to wait till I go back to England to get it, and so I find that I do read more YA here just because it's available to me in the library much more easily. I have also recently read a couple of graphic novels, a graphic memoir. I have read a couple of the Owl Crate books that I've got, which are in the dystopian or fantasy genre, which I didn't read any of before, and I feel that I've read a little bit more non-fiction than I used to, just because I don't think that non-fiction is talked about as much on BookTube as it should be, and so I make it a priority to always have some non-fiction on my TBR. Where it would naturally have fallen onto my TBR most months anyway, I now will consciously make the effort to put memoirs or other non-fiction books on my TBR. And yeah, I've also read a little bit more poetry, but I think that's more to do with Bookstagram than it is to do with BookTube. So yes. Number 3, how much time did you spend on YouTube before BookTube, and how much time do you spend on it now? I probably spend less time watching BookTube videos than I used to. I find myself adding things to my watch later pile and then not getting to them as much as I would like because I'm making and uploading videos. So in terms of actually spending time in the creator studio, I spend way more time there than I used to. I have been actively on BookTube making videos for just over 2 years now. So yeah, I would say that the watching of BookTube videos has become less. I've also curbed watching some of the other videos that I used to watch as well. So I probably spend less time watching YouTube than I used to. Number 4. How many books did you read per month or year before BookTube, and how many do you read now? This question kind of almost doesn't apply to me because I have been book blogging since 2011. So I was contributing to someone else's blog for a year, and then I've had my blog for 5.5 years now. So I was always reading a lot. And then the year to 2 years before I became active on BookTube, I had a very stressful and very demanding job, and so my book reading tailed off dramatically. I would still say I read more than the average person because I would read as much as I possibly can in the school holidays, and I had quite a lengthy commute, and so I would do an audiobook, at least an audiobook a week going back and forth, and then when I was packing to move over here, I would do audiobooks while I was packing as well. So I made the most of my time reading even when I had a really stressful job. I did make a video about that, which I will leave linked because I haven't checked in on that video for a little while. So I would say I read more now because I am not teaching right now, and so me having time to do BookTube has also coincided with me having time to just read more anyway. So obviously since I stopped teaching, I have definitely read more books. My Goodreads goal in 2016, considering the fact that it was only the first 7 months of 2016 I was teaching, I then had from like August onwards not working, I only read 70 odd books, whereas last year I read 220 books. But if you consider the fact that the year before 2016, which would be 2015, I read something like 150 books. So I do read more now, but I've always read a lot because I had a book blog, and I've always tried to fit in as much reading time as possible. So it's kind of a funny question with me because starting BookTube and becoming unemployed are the same thing to me. Okay, how has BookTube affected your book buying habits, and if so, are you pleased or displeased by this? Again, I always bought quite a lot of books anyway, but I have definitely bought more books because I've had time to read more books. Also, I would have bought more Kindle books and audiobooks, so actually spent the money on the Kindle books and the audiobooks before, whereas now I am more likely to try and find a way to afford the physical copy, because holding up a Kindle or a phone and saying, look, I read this on audiobook, is not the same as being able to show you a physical book. And also me doing a book haul saying, yeah, I bought 5 Kindle books this month, here's my Kindle, look, it has 5 more books on it. So I would say I haven't bought more books necessarily, but the books that I've bought have been in a different format. I still buy Kindle books because of the issue I mentioned about not being able to get certain women's fiction authors over here, but wanting to still pre-order their new book, so I will pre-order it on Kindle if I haven't got a trip to the UK coming up. If I've got a trip to the UK coming up, I'll pre-order it in physical book and then bring it back with me, or ship it back to myself. There's always a big parcel of books that gets sent after any trip to the UK. It's really bad. Okay. Has a review by a booktuber ever retroactively made you reconsider your stance on a book? Not really. As I say, Bethany and I have done a few buddy reads, and doing a buddy read with somebody is a bit like reading a book for a book group, but a bit more fun because there's just the two of you doing it, and yet a bit less fun at the same time because there's no wine, because I hear at book groups there's wine. I don't know. So in that sense, that changes my mind on a book, but makes me think more analytically about what I'm reading, and makes me think more analytically about my review. And sometimes she will make a point, or I will make a point that the other person hadn't thought of, or she will ask me questions about my stance on a certain topic or issue or plot twist in a book. So yeah, so from that point of view, yes, but I've never watched a review on here and then gone, oh yes, I actually hated that book, or oh yes, I actually loved that book. So yeah, generally I'm like, everyone's entitled to their opinion. This is my opinion after reading the book. This is their opinion. It's always interesting when we have a conflicting opinion, and I have made a couple of videos based on people's reactions to books that I have had a different reaction to. So I wanted to put that out there because I felt like I wanted to almost make like a response video. Okay, question number 7. Are there any videos you've been inspired to make after seeing another booktuber's videos? Have you ever felt inspired by another booktuber's style? So yeah, everything that I've made on BookTube has been inspired by someone else's BookTube video, because I've done, you know, the tag videos and the haul videos and the wrap-ups and the TBRs and the reading vlogs and the readathon vlogs, and all of those someone else has done first. So obviously I've been inspired by those things. I love when I get tagged in something and I do the tag. That's always fun. I don't think I've done anybody's unique idea. No, so I guess like everything was inspired by me watching these videos on BookTube, but I suppose I vlog more at book events or video more at book events, where before I would have just taken a couple of pictures and then written it up on my blog, whereas now I do both because I'm a glutton for punishment. So I'll have a video and a blog post about it. But yeah. And then, have I ever been influenced by another booktuber's style? Again, no, not really. I've got my own kind of like speaking and discussion style anyway, that I've got through having worked as a teacher and having given presentations to adults and children and having to keep their attention. So I think that my style on here is quite similar to my teaching style or my presentation style or my meeting style anyway. So I don't think, I suppose filming in front of a bookshelf rather than filming somewhere else is probably taken from another booktuber style, because I've seen people filming in front of their bookshelves, aka the big booktubers that I started out watching all film in front of their bookshelves. So I guess that style I've stolen from them, but it's just something that everyone does. If I wanted to have sort of natural light facing me, then I would have to be way away and you would just see the expanse of my apartment behind me, because the windows are over there, which is why the light always comes from this direction. 8. What are some pressures you feel on your reading life because of your channel? As I say, I will now consciously try and fit in some non-fiction, whereas I would have before just had it in there subconsciously. So I might have had a month where I didn't read any non-fiction. I've actually really enjoyed having the TBRs and then having the wrap-ups. So in a way, I felt less pressure because I've got the TBR there. So my reading is a little more directed. And I always had my book blog before, so I was being sent review copies of things and having to review things that publishers sent me by a certain date before, so I don't think that pressure has changed. Obviously, again, BookTube's coincided with me leaving my job and leaving the country, so I have less review books now anyway. I suppose, yeah, going back to having more physical books rather than Kindle books. And occasionally because I love making my book versus movie videos, I will put extra pressure on myself to make sure that I watch a new movie based off a book as soon as it comes out. So I will maybe turn down another social event to go and watch the movie so that I can make the video for it. And I've said to you before, I've come back quite late at night and then made the video so I could upload it the next day. So that's not reading pressure though. Maybe the reading pressure is that I felt like I had to reread or find and read the book before going to see the movie. I don't know. Yeah. That's that answer. 9. In what way, if any, do you feel the social element of the community has impacted your reading? Do you think about books differently since joining? Those are quite different questions. So let's go back to the fact that I've buddy read stuff with Bethany. I probably wouldn't have pushed as hard as I did to make sure that I got to BookCon this year if I wasn't doing BookTube, because I knew that Bethany was going and Enchanted Fandoms was going to be there. Those are people I have found through BookTube, and so I wouldn't have made the effort to go, I don't think, if they hadn't have been like, oh, you're going to BookCon, are you doing this? I've had other friends go to Book Expo and BookCon before, and so it's been on my radar and it's something that I wanted to do, but I wouldn't necessarily have gone, yes, I must pay the money for the flight and the hotel for this to make sure it happens, because flying from Denver to New York and paying for a hotel is just about the same amount of money as flying from Heathrow to New York and paying the money for a hotel. So the only difference is slightly less jet lag, slightly, because there's still 2 hours time difference. So yeah, and then meeting up with Bethany is always fun, and I've also chatted to other local booktubers at events here, which is really cool. Whether they wanted me to or not, I've put myself out there and made that effort, so yes. And then the second part of the question, do you think about books differently since joining? I mentioned that I read more young adult, contemporary young adult romance than I used to, and before I had a fairly negative view on it, whereas now I am more choosy with what I read because I can be, and because my library has such a fantastic selection. So I suppose I think about young adult fiction differently to how I used to, and I've never been one who, if I'm reading a book I'm not enjoying, I will be like, yes, I have to read this because I've started it. I've been on blog tours and things like that and been sent the book and really not gelled with it, and just gone to the person promoting the book, whoever that might be, I'm really sorry, I wouldn't be able to give this book a positive review. Can I feature something else to still be part of the blog tour? Or if I've got a review copy or something from NetGalley, I've always been somebody who will say, I'm just not enjoying this book, I'm not going to be able to give it a positive review, so don't expect a review from me on publication day. So yeah, I suppose not really, apart from maybe being a bit more choosy with what I read. And number 10, what influence do you hope your own channel will have on the BookTube community and or aspiring booktubers? As I say, I like to try and include non-fiction in my reading and in my reviews and videos, because I think there's not an awful lot of non-fiction featured here on BookTube. There are certain channels that will regularly have non-fiction in their wrap-ups or regularly talk about non-fiction. I don't think a lot of people read a lot of memoirs here on BookTube, whereas I do. So I hope that people will sort of be more aware of some of the non-fiction books that I've profiled here. I don't think I get enough views to have any influence on aspiring booktubers. Obviously, a lot of people say to me, oh, I couldn't do that, I couldn't sit and talk at a camera, I don't have enough confidence. And I'm like, well, right now there's no one else here. I'm literally sat answering a question. There just happens to be something filming me right here, and I don't know, it's It's not like I kind of talk to myself anyway, so it's fine, especially when I've got an empty flat like this. So yeah, I maybe feel a little bit more self-conscious when there are other people around, but as I say, I'm a teacher, so I'm used to just being, this is my voice, you will listen to it now. So yeah, like I say, I don't think probably I've got enough of a following to have any influence on aspiring booktubers, but if you're watching this and you're an aspiring booktuber, it's just talking and recording yourself, and that's it. Really. I do look back sometimes and think, why did I make that face? And some of the pauses that YouTube seems to think are okay for thumbnails, I don't know what's going on about, but my mouth is always open. I think probably because I just don't stop talking, but I'm always like this. Yeah, that's the only funny part and self-conscious part. I'm like, come on, YouTube, that is not a thumbnail. But I take my thumbnail pictures differently anyway, so yeah. So like I say, if you feel inclined to do this tag, please do, and then let me know in the comments so I can come and watch your video and comment on your video. If you are interested in any further explanations from me to any of the answers to the questions, then please let me know in the comments. It's always nice to have a nice chat down there. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed, and make sure you are subscribed so that my next video lands right in your subscription feed, whatever that might be. I will be back with another video very soon, and I think that's all I've covered. Yes, thank you very much for watching. Bye.